The sun had barely risen over the ancient city of Ravenna when Marcus Valerius Severus,
An aging Roman soldier with scars older than the young recruits, tightened the worn leather straps of his armor. He had fought for Rome his entire life. He had served under emperors who rose and vanished like dust. The slow, painful death of the greatest empire the world had ever known. The birds of the marshlands cried in the distance as Marcus stepped out onto the city walls.
From there, the world looked peaceful. Green fields stretching into the haze, the quiet flow of the river, and the rustling of the forests. But beneath this calm, the Western Empire was breaking apart.
Far beyond the horizon, Germanic tribes marched closer each day. Goths, Vandals,
Hoc pactu inutile est.
Nos prodes!
Senatus hoc non probabit!
Remnants of power. Marcus rested his hands on the cold stone of the battlements.
His fingers trembled, not from fear, but from age. He had been a soldier for 40 years.
He had marched through snow in Germania, baked under the sun of Africa, guarded the crumbling roads of Gaul, and fought rebellions in Italy itself. He had lived long enough to see the empire shrink from a vast and
Unstoppable force to a fractured shadow. In the barracks below, trumpets sounded.
Another barbarian army had crossed the northern plains, and they were heading toward Italy. Marcus descended the stairs. Inside the fort, young soldiers sharpened swords with hands that still trembled from their first battles.
children, he thought. These boys grew up knowing Rome as an old, fragile giant, nothing like the invincible Colossus
He once served. In the command tent, General Orestes stood over a map.
Orestes had ambition burning in his eyes, a hunger Marcus had seen in many men during Romul's chaotic final years.
The Emperor is weak. The Empire needs a new direction, a new leader.
We need unit. We cannot afford more blood on the Senate floor.
Unity?
Rome is already broken, old soldier. I'm only picking up the pieces.
Marcus knew what that meant. Orestes planned to overthrow the emperor, just like so many generals before him. Every coup had weakened Rome further, tearing apart its foundations.
Between loyalty and survival. A week later, Orestes marched on Ravenna. Marcus watched betrayal unfold like a familial play. The palace guards surrendered with barely a fight, and yet he wore the imperial purple, unaware that he would be Rome's last emperor.
Celeriter.
Noli respicere!
Umbrae nos secuntur.
The Senate argued daily over how much of Italy they still controlled. Outside, fields lay abandoned.
The great stone roads cracked and crumbled. Merchants complained that bandits ran free. Villages pleaded for soldiers, but there were none to spare. At night, Marcus sat alone by the quiet canals
Of Ravenna, staring at his reflection in the water. He remembered the glory of his youth, the parades in Rome, the golden eagles held high, the cheers of citizens who believed Rome would last forever. Now that same empire felt like a fading dream. One evening, a distant rumble shook the ground.
Marcus climbed the watchtower. Torches flickered on the dark horizon.
thousands of them, like a river of fire. Odoacer and his Germanic warriors had arrived in Italy. Orestes ordered what remained of his army to march north and confront them, but Marcus knew it was hopeless. Their numbers were too small, their morale too weak.
Still, he joined the march. A soldier fights until the end.
Finally, they halted near Pavia, where Odoacer's forces awaited like a storm cloud over the land. The battle that followed was swift and brutal. Roman lines shattered under the weight of the Germanic advance. Left in his aging body, but the truth could not be denied. Rome had no more strength to give.
Orestes was captured and executed. The remnants of the Roman army fled. Marcus, bleeding,
Found himself crawling through a forest, the shouts of Germanic warriors fading behind him.
For the first time in 40 years, he felt fear, not of death, but of a world where Rome no longer mattered.
He reached Ravenna 3 days later, half conscious. Odoacer had already arrived.
Romulus Augustulus stood before Odoacer, a trembling child draped in imperial purple.
If I surrender the crown, will my people be safe?
Odoacer softened. You have a good heart, young one. Go home to your family. Rome needs no emperor now.
And just like that, the Western Roman Empire ended. The imperial crown and cloak were sent to Constantinople.
The throne was left empty. The Senate bowed to Odoacer. The banners of Rome, once symbols of power, were lowered for the last time. Marcus watched the ceremony from the shadows of the palace hall. His eyes burned, not with anger, but with grief so deep it numbed every part of him.
This was the empire he had sworn to protect, gone with the sigh of a child handing over a crown.
Yet, as he walked out into the streets of Ravenna, he saw something unexpected.
The markets were open. Children played near the fountains. Fishermen laughed by the canals.
And Germanic warriors walked peacefully among Roman citizens. Rome had fallen, but life had not ended.
Marcus realized something profound. An empire is only stone and law, but people, their stories, their spirit, live on.
He left the palace that day, removing the armor he had worn for decades. He walked out of the city and followed the winding road south, past marshlands shimmering under the sun, toward the distant hills. Birds circled overhead. The wind whispered through the fields. For the first time in years, Marcus felt something he had long forgotten: hope.
He reached a quiet village at dusk. Children with dusty faces stared at the tired warrior.
Friend, you look weary. Come, share our fire tonight.
Marcus smiled softly. He had lived through the rise and fall of emperors, through battles and betrayals,
Through the twilight of Rome itself. And now, he found himself among simple people with simple dreams.
People who would build the future, even if they never knew the names of the generals or emperors who came before them. As the stars appeared across the dark sky, Marcus sat beside the warm fire.
The crackling flames reminded him of Rome's eternal spirit, not dead, just transformed.
The camera of history closed slowly on his weathered face. A Roman soldier, no longer guarding an empire, but guarding the last memory of a world that once ruled all others. And so ends the story of Marcus Valerius Severus, the man who watched Rome fall.